Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm Eugene Nakatomi.
Oh my. Did your family build Nakatomi Tower?
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, that's right, because that didn't look too good on y'all.
I don't want to talk about it.
How much money did your family lose? And did you hold the officer who destroyed it accountable?
Yeah, you're going to pretend we don't know the man who ruined my family business's name.
John McClane?
John McClane?
In this scenario, it's like Barney. You're rooting for Hans Gruber. He died hard. He's the titular character. Anyway,
Jesus Christ.
welcome back, everyone. Sorry it took so long to do this episode.
What are you going to do? Yeah?
I mean, the only one who's listening is Zach.
That's true. Sorry, Zach.
But if you're not Zach, yeah, sorry it took so long. Jeremy got sick, and then I got sick.
You got big boy sick.
Yeah, I got big boy sick. And neither one of us really felt like doing the episode while we were sick. So
No way, dude. I couldn't even concentrate. I tried watching, so it was sort of a test. It was like, can I pay attention, right?
While you were sick?
Yeah. And so I put on Bardo, which is Alejandro Iñárritu's new movie that's on Netflix, right? And I couldn't read for shit. I was just so...
Like...
It wasn't so much like I couldn't pay attention. You know, my brain was so foggy, and I was just like, I can't read fast enough.
Oh, see, that's kind of what happened when I first watched the movie for this episode. Because, well, at first I thought we were going to record originally on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, on Friday I was just like, I can't give this the attention it deserves.
I know.
And then when you wanted to record Sunday, I was like, perfect. You know what? Saturday, I can do it Saturday. And then, yeah. And then I got sick. But, oh well. But here we are.
Yeah.
At last.
At last.
My final pick of the season before we get to the end of season series. Well, I mean, you still have one more pick.
I have one more. Yeah.
And then the end of season series. But my official final pick for the show, and it is High and Low, in case you forgot. It is our third Akira Kurosawa film of the season, and man, I don't know.
It's my favorite one.
Of the three, well, I was about to say, of the three, I don't know which one I liked the most.
Okay.
I mean, this one's up there.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so first impressions.
Yeah.
Because we got to get
Your first impression.
my first impression, because you've already seen this.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it.
Yeah.
I knew the base story. The wrong kid gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
And what do? You know, like, do you...
Which is really just the first half of the movie.
Yeah. So, that's what I loved a lot about it.
Yeah.
I thought the whole movie was going to be, okay, what do we do?
Yeah.
Like, do we actually save this kid's life? Do we not? And yeah, that's the first half of the movie. The rest of the movie is finding the guy that did it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then actually seeing how modern, in the context of when the movie was made, how modern Japanese police tried to piece this all together. Mm. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say, because I really want to get into it.
Episode's over.
Yeah.
That's it.
6 minutes. No, because I really want to get into it.
Okay.
So, Jeremy, if you will give people the synopsis.
Yeah. So, a mid-level executive of a shoe company is meeting with Gondo.
Yeah.
Is meeting with the other executives of the company because they would like to push out using their shares, their collective shares, to push out the president of the company, take over the company, and do what they want to do, which the other executives want to make what they consider fashion-forward shoes, but at a fraction of the cost, which means a lesser quality of shoe, right? Which really it means very little to the plot, except for what Gondo already has planned, right?
Right.
And what Gondo values, right? Gondo started in the factory, building the shoes, making the shoes, and then just worked his way up, right? Came from humble beginnings, right? So he takes a lot of pride in what he does, and what they want to do is just cheap out and do what they think is more popular, but lose quality, right? Which is not what he wants to do, right?
Yeah.
Which tells you a lot about his character, right? In the first 10 minutes. Right? But what he has planned is he has been saving money and betting against everything he owns to collect money to buy out shares. So he's the majority shareholder and he takes control of the company, but he gets to keep the quality and the original vision of the company, right?
Right.
And he, like I said, bet everything, right?
Yeah.
His house, everything. Like, this is no joke to him, right?
Yeah.
So once they leave, that's when you find out that's what he's doing, right? And his right-hand man is there to assist him in this process. During all of this, his son is playing with his friend, which is Gondo's chauffeur's son. And I love this little thing where they're playing cops and robbers or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And even the mom mistakes the two boys, right? When they switch roles, right? When it's their son's turn to be the robber, they switch costumes or outfits, and even the mom gets confused, right?
Yeah.
Really because they're just going by what they're wearing, right? And they're similar height. They have like the same haircut. I mean, they're like identical, right?
Yeah.
So while this is going on, they get a phone call, right? And there is a guy claiming that he has kidnapped their son, right? Gondo immediately just says, "You kidnapped my son. What do you need? What do you want?" Right?
Right.
And he's asking for 30 million yen, which is a very large percentage. I can't do math. I would say 70%. I don't know. I can't do math of what he has accumulated to buy those shares. Right? He accumulated 50 million yen, right? And he's asking for 30 million.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Okay, well, that's insane, but okay, you can have it. It's yours." Right? And then their son comes walking in, right? Which is odd. It's because the kidnapper took the wrong kid.
Yeah.
Right? And now the whole thing is, okay, it's not my kid, which means it's not my responsibility anymore, right? And so now it becomes that police are called. I forgot I was doing this synopsis. I'm sorry. The police are called. They get involved. After a lot of drama, I guess.
Yeah.
Gondo finally decides, yes, I'll pay it. I'm yada through a lot. We'll get to it. So then they finally pay the ransom. The kid is returned. Now the rest of the movie is them finding the guy in the police procedural, which I really, really enjoyed. And they find the guy. They catch the guy. They put the guy in jail. The final scene is they meet Gondo and the guy meet at the jail. And they discuss, why all this happened, and trying just to understand, right?
Yeah.
And that's high and low.
Yeah. or what I really loved, I think I saw that the direct translation is Heaven and Hell.
Originally.
Yeah. Which I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, High and Low is still a great title, but Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
That's A1.
I know.
Steak sauce.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. I guess let's start with Gondo.
Okay.
I mean, you've already kind of told everyone a little bit about him, how determined he is. But for a little bit, we really think he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, a little bit. But, I can understand why you would say that.
Yeah.
Especially with, like, how he talks to the other execs and all that stuff. But then, once he explains himself and all that stuff, you understand where he's coming from.
Oh, yeah.
Like, these guys are the ones that are trying to cheap out or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't like that because he takes pride in what he does, because he used to be the people to make the shoes, right? So that I liked about Gondo. It's when things start to get a little complicated with the ransom, right? Because once it's established that it's not his son, it's his chauffeur's, right? The kidnapper realizes the mistake and is still demanding that Gondo pay, right? He's not saying, okay, well then put the
dad on.
Put the chauffeur on, right? That's not what he's saying. He's saying, well, you're still responsible. You still have to pay, right? Yeah. He is trying to humiliate and ruin Gondo. It's almost as if he's being targeted specifically, which of course he is, because it was supposed to be his son being kidnapped, right?
Yeah.
And so, and so we get the sense of, well, shit, it'd be one thing if he was just some rich jerk, right?
Yeah.
But it's the fact that he worked hard for what he did. He started from humble beginnings and he worked his way to the level he's at, right? By not taking shortcuts. I mean, we see what he feels about taking shortcuts, right? He doesn't like that.
Yeah, he literally destroys that shoe effortlessly.
Yeah, because it was cheap, right?
Yeah.
But it's also that we've already established what he was going to do with that money, and what happens if he uses that money for something that isn't going to pay him back, right? He's ruined.
Yeah.
Right? It's the fact that he's using it to buy the company, which will eventually pay him back.
Yeah, that way
it's a gamble, right?
Yeah, that way he can pay back the investors.
That's right.
That are giving him this money.
And pay off the mortgage. So it's that also. So we understand the moral dilemma of, would you pay or not, right?
Right.
And that's where we're sitting for a while, right? And I had you watch that video. Did you watch it?
I forgot. I'm sorry. I meant to put it on as soon as the movie was over, and then I forgot. And then I was like, then when we pushed the episode back, I was like, oh, perfect. I'll have time to watch it. But then what happened with me when I got sick, I didn't want to watch anything.
Yeah, you almost died.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry.
That's fine. So he's going to put the link in the description.
I'll put the link in the description, or it'll pop up here.
Ooh, you can do that. That's cool.
Yeah, on the YouTube.
I didn't know you could do that.
Hopefully, Future Rain actually. I'm not talking to you, Siri. Hopefully, Future Rain will actually remember, because I've done that before, and Future Rain has forgotten.
If he doesn't, say something. Okay.
Well, and I'll be editing this as soon as we're done.
So. Oh, that's right. So, okay. It is a video done by Cinefix, which, of course, if you've been listening to the show long enough, you know that I just adore these guys. I think they're just so smart, and they really dive in super deep with these analyses for these films. And they did one with 3 moments of blocking from the first half of High and Low. And it's examples of how blocking is effective in film, right? The first one is characters need to present themselves through blocking, meaning they need to show their motivations, their characteristics,
right,
through the blocking, right? And there's a great moment where, and I'm not going to go through all of it because the video does it far better than I ever will.
I was going to say better than you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Right. They're geniuses over there. I don't know how to get a job over there, but I wish I could. There's a moment when Gondo is on the phone with the kidnapper, and the police are already there. So we have the gentleman in the suit He's the head investigator. He is manning the controls and the tape, recording the conversation, right?
Right.
We have the chauffeur in the background, but nearing the middle of the shot, okay? And then we have Gondo's right-hand man behind him, okay? So we have everyone is looking at Gondo, okay?
Yeah.
But the way he has them positioned is just, it's pure brilliance. We
Yeah.
have the chauffeur, of course, who is there, but far enough away to represent his lack of control, right? His complete his complete lack of ability to help at all, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he doesn't have the money, he doesn't have the control over the situation, he doesn't, really, he can't do anything, right?
Right.
But he needs to be in the center so we can see him, right? And he
Yeah.
needs to be there so we can be reminded of the moral struggle, right?
Right.
We also have the lead investigator who is sort of a mediator, right? He is the one who is in the middle, literally, of everybody. And he's the one who is making sure everything goes off right, right?
Right.
The really interesting one is the right-hand man, who is behind Gondo, who is looking at Gondo, but Gondo has his back turned toward him, right?
Right.
So his motivations, of course, is he's got 50 million yen in his pocket, right? And he wants to protect not only Gondo, but honestly, he wants to protect himself. If Gondo loses everything, he loses his right-hand man. Right-hand man's out of a job, right?
Right.
So it's almost like he's peering in as if to be a little bit mischievous, right?
Yeah.
And it's just brilliant. He's saying all of this without anybody speaking, really, right?
Yeah.
Gondo's the only one speaking on the phone, right? It's pure genius, right? There's a few more of these that are in the video, which is just, I mean, you're not going to believe it. I mean, there are things that Kurosawa was doing with the positioning of his characters that are just, it's amazing that, it's telling you so much without you realizing it. Right?
Yeah, especially because in a few scenes, the right-hand man's going to betray Gondo.
Yeah.
And tell all this to the other executives.
Yeah.
So when shit hits the fan, Gondo is sort of left with no choice but to pay.
Right.
Because he's ruined anyway, so
Right.
might as well.
And so there's another moment where there's this big scene with a lot of people, right? Tons of people, because it's all the investigators, it's Gondo's whole family, it's the chauffeur, it's the right-hand man, it's everybody is in this room, right?
Right.
Which, by the way, dude, I mean, it's like a play, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just this one area of the house, that we're focused in on, and for the first half of the film, it's basically is a play, right? So eventually, one by one, people start leaving the room, right? Until it's just the right-hand man on the left side and Gondo on the far right, and there's so much empty space in between them, right? Where we have like unspoken. We have this. I forgot how they put it in the video. I just watched it too. I rewatched it for this. But there's so much that needs to be said, and there's so much that needs to be worked out, and it just hasn't been, right?
Right.
And it's not broken until eventually I wish I remembered his name, and I can't even remember like what, how I can find him on IMDb. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Until he gets up and then walks out of the room, right? It isn't until later on when the decision is really made for him, and Kurosawa is using people for our eyes to bounce around the room for that decision to finally be made, which is the chauffeur begging formally asking to pay, right? Gondo saying no, the chauffeur or the right-hand man saying, you got it. Like, he wasn't talking to me, but I know what that means. I'm out of here. I'm going to go pay, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go buy those shares. Him saying, wait, the wife coming out, comforting the chauffeur, saying, we're not going to let anything happen to your son. We will pay. I promise. I will talk to him. I'll do all that. The son coming in, saying, you know, is my friend back yet? Right?
Yeah.
All of that, all the guilt swirling around until Gondo finally breaks. Right?
Yeah.
It's pure genius. I don't know how Kurosawa does all this stuff. It's crazy.
I don't know, man. Like we talked about in our Rashomon episode. Shout out to our Rashomon episode. What Kurosawa could do with a camera is beyond impressive.
And this was people in front of the camera, right?
Yeah.
He's, instead of moving the camera around back and forth, he's just moving the people around. Switching our focus back and forth with ease. Like you didn't even notice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so, it's very reminiscent of, and this is the only example that comes to mind, the whale that we saw.
Oh, yeah.
Now, granted, Aronofsky does sort of the flip of that, where the camera is moving very effortlessly around the room, because there's not a ton of people in Charlie's space, but that's what it reminded me a lot of. That instead of it being the camera moving, the camera's static, but Kurosawa, like a kid playing with the dollhouse, is just moving these people around for the best angle and for the best way to tell this story.
Yeah.
And it's, dude.
I know. I mean, and the video gives 3 examples, right? But there are so many examples. There's times when Gondo is just on the edge of frame for an entire scene because he's wanting to remove himself from the situation, right?
Yeah.
And you can feel it, right?
Yeah.
Without it having to be said, that he's trying to, you know, he's trying to get out of this responsibility, right?
Yeah.
But he's just staying right on the edge of the frame. And even while he's walking, the camera follows him just right to where he just stays on the edge, right? It's too good.
Yeah, man. God.
I know.
It's, and you know, and there's so many layers because, you know, in this first half of the movie, Kurosawa throws a lot of information at us. And I think that's why the blocking and the shooting is the way it is, because he knew, like, yeah, I'm going to throw a lot of stuff at you.
Yeah.
Here's how you can pay attention without hearing anyone say. Explicitly
There you go.
say, oh, hey, this, and, you know.
Right.
Until, of course, it all kind of comes to a head when Gondo finally decides, okay, like, I'll pay.
Yeah.
But man,
I know.
It's a way to build tension without, like, the scene, yes, is tense because a kid's been kidnapped.
Yeah.
And this guy is grappling with his morality of, well, if I pay, I'm ruined.
Yeah.
And it's not even my son.
Yeah.
But it just adds so many layers of tension.
But
to
it's the right
scene.
thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. And that's hard too, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like either I help this family or I ruin mine. You know? At least that's how he sees it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you know, he does make the right call, which, I'm going to be honest, like I was kind of saying at the beginning, is I think we were going to go, I thought for sure we were going to go back and forth the whole movie. That, you know, he was going to stick to his guns and be like, nope, I'm not paying. Like, it's not my son, I'm not paying. And then he was going to be like, well, like, maybe I should. Like, I thought we were going to go back and forth the whole movie. And then he, you know, that final interaction with the kidnapper over the phone, finally sets him over.
Yeah.
And is like, all right, I will pay.
Yeah.
And almost kind of shocks everyone that he, I guess, folds so quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Or not really folds quickly. He changes his mind so quickly.
Yeah.
Especially because he'd made it seem the night before, like, I'm not changing my mind.
Yeah.
If I do this, I'm ruined.
Right.
I will have no money. I will be out of a job.
Yeah.
I don't think I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, what I love is the police, you know, because he tells them, like, I know it sounds heartless, but
Yeah.
I can't do this. And the police are like, well, we're not here to judge you. We're just here to help you.
Yeah.
And I think, I think that layered on a little bit of guilt too.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. But, you know, it's also, it's sort of like in, let's go back to our Warrior episode.
Okay.
Each brother has a legitimate reason to win.
Yeah.
And a legitimate reason that the audience wants them to win.
Yeah.
Right? In this case, it's sort of like, well, I understand. I understand why he doesn't want to pay. Yes, the easy answer is, well, it's the right thing to do. Let's get the kid back. But also it's like, well...
Well, yeah,
you know?
if we get the kid back, he's going to lose his house.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I get it. Right? Both sides. Now, that's just the first half of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? The second half is this wonderful police procedural that's more in this article I brought that I'm not going to look at. It talks about how similar to M. I know, which I liked.
Yeah.
That we are in the point of view of the bad guy now, right?
Yeah.
This is now his world. Now we're on his turf, and now we're going to do the rest of the movie this way, right? Mm-hmm. Which is really interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's also interesting how now Kurosawa is... He was doing this King's Ransom thing, which is the book that it's based on, mm-hmm. King's Ransom. And now he's going to give you sort of... It's still King's Ransom, but it's going to be more like, you know, this complete separation of people, right?
Right.
Gondo and his family live on the top of this hill, and then the rest of us live here, right?
Yeah.
But he's not saying one is worse than the other. He's saying that it's so bizarre that people just can't get along. He has said in a nutshell, that's what all of his movies talk about, is why can't people just get along with one another? Why do we separate ourselves this way, right?
Okay.
So, hence the title. We're separating ourselves, in this case, by class, right?
Right. High class and low class.
Yeah, essentially, right? And literally living high on the hill or living low on the street, mm-hmm. right? Which is great. So let's talk about the second half.
Yes, because I was not expecting the movie to go this way.
Yeah.
Which I loved. I loved watching the police test theories. Testing theories. Going like, well, you know, it kind of tracks with this, and mm-hmm. you know, and
them all in that room, mm-hmm. going 2 by 2, like, you two, you were in charge of this, what'd you get? Right?
Right.
Okay, now you guys, what did you get? You're in charge of this. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, he said it was really hot and it was 9 a.m., which means the sun was hitting it. So it means, you know what I mean? It's going through all the stuff. It was really cool. I really liked that scene.
Yeah, it was so cool. And I really liked, you know, how, like, that Kurosawa just wasn't having these characters talk about it, that we actually got to see some of them in action doing how they got this information.
Yes.
You know, which, like, I feel like I'm becoming more like you, where I don't want to be spoon-fed, but this is like a way to not make the audience feel like they're being spoon-fed information.
No, I didn't feel... I just felt like I got to sit in on this briefing, which was cool, right?
Yeah.
It didn't seem unnecessary to me. It seemed the opposite.
Yeah.
like they got everybody, essentially on this case.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm going to be honest. I did have the question. I was like, well, do they do this with every case?
Who knows?
Or is it just this specific one? Like, because maybe the lead investigator, the man in the suit, was just so. I don't want to say moved by Gondo, but maybe it was just like, you know what, we gotta
help this guy out.
We gotta help him out.
Yeah,
we gotta get him some kind of an answer.
So shit. What was I gonna say?
Oh, sorry.
God damn it. No, it's fine. Oh, what was it? Shit. Oh, I hate you so much.
I'm sorry.
It's not even your fault. I'm just mad at you. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It'll come back to me. So I remember what it was.
Okay.
So even with all of this and the investigation in the second half, when we come back to Gondo and his house, right? Number one, it's almost like it's almost like when the investigator said, "Man, something about this house just gets to you." Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, and you're sort of like, I guess I understand. Now I get it. Because we've spent enough time out of the house that when we're back in it, you're like, Jesus.
Yeah.
This is nice, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But I love the tension that is created during the investigation now, because now the chauffeur is now desperate for answers for Gondo, because now he feels a sense of guilt. Which I kind of understand, right? Because it's like, this guy just spent a fortune
to get your son back.
To get my son back. And now that I have him back, I have to do everything I can, right? And so when he's yelling at his son for, not remembering and things, I know.
It kind of reminded me actually a lot of Seven Samurai, where the farmer's yelling at his daughter in front of everyone.
Yes.
Made me think a lot about that. And I love that Gondo is just like, stop it.
Yeah, it's not helping.
He'll remember when he remembers.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But
you feel it. Like, you completely understand why the chauffeur, and I don't remember his name, is feeling this way, and why he is so desperate, because he is like, if we don't do this, like, this guy's, it's my it's almost like he's like, it's my fault. He
spent his potential future and we're wasting it.
Right.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I won't lie, for a little bit I was a little annoyed. I'm like, why is he trying so hard?
Yeah.
Like, you got your son back. But then as the film progressed, I was like, oh, okay, no, he's trying to help.
Right.
But the only way he knows how is just to throw his son back into it, and like, does this look familiar to you?
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting that, number one, they had the kid draw a picture, which is smart.
Yeah.
But now they're trying to find that area that he drew, right? And even the chauffeur gets his son, and he drives him around, and, putting him in danger,
I know, especially when they find the house that he'd been held in. Full of dead heroin addicts.
Yeah.
Which I was like, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, this is the brilliance of Kurosawa.
Yeah.
He's gonna keep throwing stuff at you.
Now, here's I think one of my favorite things about the movie. Okay. Yes, the first half I think is my favorite part, right? Obviously.
Right.
It has to do with the first part. But it's the setup and the payoff, and in a very unique way, right?
Okay.
Here's what I mean. And you're going to go, yeah. Okay. They set up the hidden booby traps basically in the case, right? And one of them is, if you burn it, it's going to turn the smoke pink.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And you're like, in the back of your mind, you may not be thinking it like, explicitly, but you're kind of like, well, how are they going to do that? It's in black and white.
Yeah.
So oh my God, once they look out at the window and the smoke is pink, like for real pink.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
You know?
dude, I was like,
that's fucking rad.
Dude, I was like,
right? It's
like,
it's the
excuse me?
setup and the payoff you weren't expecting, right?
Yeah.
You're expecting them to catch him some other way. You've almost forgot about it, right? Because you're like, well, that's not going to matter to us, right?
Yeah.
The audience, because it's in black and white. Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. For the characters, it'll be pink, but for us,
course.
it'll be like, oh, it's just smoke.
It's just smoke. Who cares? But we, the audience, also get the payoff, which is really nice, right?
Yeah, that was.
It was so cool.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. When it got to that, I was like, did he intentionally do the whole movie in black and white just so he could do that?
I think at one point, I think I read something similar to that, where, you know, that pink smoke is so important that, you know, the black and white sort of makes up for how, impressive and how important, I don't want to say that word again, but here we are, important that moment is in the film, right? It sort of really draws your attention, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so cool, too, dude.
I know, because there's, for an example, the movie Logan, which I love.
Shout out to Logan, dude. You want to talk about, hang on. You want to talk about a comic book movie I would love to get like deep into, because that movie doesn't feel like a comic book movie, man. And it's so good.
Yeah.
Shout out to James Mangold.
Yeah. Ford versus Ferrari is great.
Yeah.
310 to Yuma is great.
Oh, yeah.
Logan, amazing. So.
But you didn't like the Wolverine, you
no.
fucking pleb.
There is an option you can watch the movie in black and white.
Yes.
I did once.
Yeah, so have I.
And the movie loses a lot of stuff because, for that very reason, is because the serum is green.
Yeah.
And that's important to be able to recognize that it's green, right? Mm-hmm. And recognize it because of its distinct color, right? So that's lost.
It's
right in that. It's a small thing, but it's important nonetheless.
The only time I would say, kind of tying it back to the episode of Black and White, is the black and chrome edition of Mad Max Fury Road.
Uh-huh.
See, because like color's not really that important in that movie because they're just in the desert, you know.
Oh, but except for those like the plumes of the.
See, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Never mind.
It's so rad, and then of course the blue of the sky and the tan of the. It's so cool, guys. Watch Mad Max Fury Road. Turn us off. Watch Mad Max Fury Road.
George
it's
Miller,
so
can you
good.
please hurry up and give us the next movie?
It's gonna be Furiosa, and who cares?
I mean, look, I love Anya Taylor-Joy, but I don't need a Furiosa backstory.
No.
Like, Charlize Theron.
I want more Tom Hardy, and I want more Mad Max.
I know. Tom's already said he's down to do another one.
Of course he is. Who wouldn't be? Anyway, done.
Anyway.
Sorry.
No, George Miller will die before
I know.
we get another
He's so
Mad Max.
old.
He's so old.
Sorry, Zach. So that pink smoke is fucking red.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Okay, so let's get to them catching the guy. So
I'm going to be honest with you.
yeah.
I wasn't expecting him to be a medical intern.
Yeah.
But of course, once that reveal hits, the heroine makes sense.
Yeah.
Because how would he... I mean, they didn't say that he directly shot them up. Mm. But, I mean, how else would he have known what to give them that he knew they would have overdosed on?
Right.
You know? And so I was like, oh. But now it makes sense why he wanted so much money, too.
Did you also expect him to be so young, too, right?
No.
Right.
And I also was not expecting to see him shortly after the job.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to see him until, honestly, ever. I was like, by that point, I was like, oh, okay, the movie's not what I expected. I don't think we'll ever see the guy. And then I was like, oh,
see him right away.
Yeah, we see him right after the job.
Yeah.
I was not expecting him to be young nor medical intern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's sort of why he is the character he is, mm-hmm. right? And sort of what makes him important to the overall theme of the movie is that he and Gondo are very similar, right?
Yeah.
They are They're not different basically at all, right? And that's what makes the meeting at the very end very powerful. And it's also what makes the theme so powerful, because what separates them is very little, right?
Yeah.
Gondo started just where he is, right? This isn't, what this intern's on, and I forgot his name. I'm so bad at this normally, and so you give them foreign names, and I'm just worthless.
It's okay.
So, what the intern saw is just a very, very nice house that he has to look at every day. And he learned and developed such a despise for him, right?
Yeah.
Just for him being successful, right? There's really nothing more than that.
Yeah, and not knowing that, just like Gondo, he started where he was.
Right. And so it's sort of interesting. Again, Kurosawa is saying we're splitting each other, down the middle like that. And why are we doing that? That's so bizarre. We shouldn't be. Yeah. Right. And it's so interesting that that's sort of his reasoning for it. Right. And how Gondo is left in just disbelief and just, and he's just heartbroken because he is being treated sort of the way that he feels like the other executives should be treated, like the other executives are sort of like snakes, right?
Right.
He's not, right? Yeah. And so what he is being perceived as is this guy sitting on a throne in an ivory tower, and that's not at all who he is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, and I think that's what makes it so heartbreaking. Because kind of to touch back on Gondo real quick.
Sure.
That's what makes it so heartbreaking when he's, like mowing, like the shot of him mowing his yard.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that's a broken man right there. But it also shows that he still, at the end of the day, will choose to do things himself.
Yeah.
Other than driving himself around. But, I was just like, that's a broken man right there.
And also, in terms of just straight plot, it's just showing you how fucking hot it is outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how
he is drenched in sweat.
It's how hot it is outside, and it's how cool it is inside his house. Right? He's wearing a sweater in the beginning of the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's, over 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like he's living this life of luxury, but it's because he worked for it. Right.
Right.
And unfortunately, people who only see the surface level of it may think otherwise. And that's just so interesting. And what Kurosawa is doing there is showing just the divide of people and not really knowing enough about each other and still making these snap judgments and these whatever. It's incredible.
No, yeah, it really is. Sorry,
I'm gonna text my wife real fast. You keep talking.
Oh, it's okay. I was just gonna say, I do love how we kind of, once the police sort of not zero in on the intern, but they kind of hone in on him. Like once he's like in their radar, I love how they started. Like I love the whole sequence of them just following him around. Mm-hmm. It was so cool.
Yes, I agree.
Now I think I missed something at one point. Because I want to say I looked away for a second, and then he was arrested.
Yeah.
So like I saw them.
I didn't miss much.
I saw them like trailing him, tailing him, and he leaves the club, and and then they pretty much are like, all right, go.
It's sort of the process of. Oh, I'm sorry, that's probably super loud. Sorry.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay. It's sort of just their process of they finally found who he is. Now we need to capture him, right? Yeah. I think I have it. Yeah, here it is. in this article, it's Deep Focus Review, by the way. I just wanted to show you this fucking shot, man.
Oh yeah,
It was so rad. It's
Dude,
the
yeah.
one with the sunglasses. I don't know if even the camera can pick it up. It's the with the sunglasses and the reflection of him hiding in the bushes. It's so fucking cool,
Dude,
man.
yeah, it's so.
I can't get over just how cool that shot is. And also, there's a shot here of the pink smoke. If you wanted to see that, yeah. Deep Focus Review. Good job.
It was so cool.
Good job getting these stills. It's really dope. I really appreciate it. Back in 2017. So thank you for that.
Only 6 years old now.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about the official meeting between Gondo and the intern.
Yeah.
I don't remember Gondo ever saying a word. Did I miss something again?
I don't either, but of course it's been a few days.
Well, for me, it's been a week.
Oh, that's true. You didn't rewatch.
Yeah.
Didn't rewatch.
Yeah. I feel like he just sits there, and I mean, honestly, if that's future Rain, don't worry about correcting me. I was gonna say correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like,
Well, even if you're wrong, right? Mm-hmm. Still, he doesn't say much, right?
yeah, I don't really.
Because the intern is really saying a lot, right?
Yeah.
He's really he's a little smug at the beginning, right? Thinking that, yes, you caught me, but I've ruined you, right?
Yeah.
I've done what I've wanted, right? And Gondo, of course, is just, he's heartbroken, number one, but also he's a little confused because this guy's completely wrong. He has the wrong idea of who he is,
Yeah.
right? What the intern sees is this looming tower over him, and that's not, what
Yeah.
that's not what Gondo is, and that's not his intention. He's just,
He's just like, my man,
he just worked.
like, dude, like, I worked to get here, and then you fucked me on a deal.
Yeah,
That's all you've done.
yeah,
Yeah. And I really liked, again, to tie it to another more recent movie, I really loved the sitting, between the glass.
Yeah.
Reminded me a lot of the Batman. Sorry.
sure, yeah,
But like how Paul Dano's the Riddler is very, because he's also very smug at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Robert Pattinson, when his Batman pretty much tells him, like, no, you got it all wrong, he kind of loses it.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
And that's essentially what the intern does. Like,
Yeah.
until to the point where, the guards had to come in and remove him from the
Yeah.
room because he's climbing up on the window.
yeah,
But I think it's because I think somewhere deep down he knew how probably, in a sense, that he failed.
yeah. That's a good interpretation. Or maybe he's just so fed up with how he feels people in his neighborhood are treated, or how people in his neighborhood or in his village or whatever. It's not a village. Or
Commune.
yeah, how he sees how people should have things, right? And
Yeah.
and they don't, right? And he's just so sick of it and so angry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's that separation. And it's, I don't know, could be both.
Yeah,
Could be both.
maybe, but I just love how that the metal divider comes down and the movie just ends.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Like, no other things need to be said. Gondo just sits there. That divider comes down. Fade to black.
Yeah.
The end. Perfect.
I love this movie.
Yeah, man, I really liked it. I will need to rewatch it again just because I probably should have rewatched it for since we took an extra week.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's still a lot about the movie I still remembered. because it's just so good. Like
Yeah.
it stays with you.
And so there's little things. Here's the noops I forgot, because we're wrapping up.
Okay.
Here's the noops I forgot, is I love how the police show up initially at Gondo's house in like a painter's van or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't a delivery truck. It was more like painters or handymen or whatever. And they won't come in the room until he closes the blinds.
Yeah.
They're just so aware of everything, right? We're dealing with smart people, right?
Yeah.
Being smart, which I like,
Yeah.
right?
You know, yeah. Too many times the cops in movies like this make a lot of dumb decisions. You know.
Or it's like, you know, they make themselves known, right?
Yeah.
Of course, which I love how these guys come in the way they do. They're disguised, right? They won't enter the living room until they close the blinds. That way, because they figured the guy's got binoculars on him or something.
Yeah.
It's genius. I love these guys, and you know they're hitting the floor.
Yeah.
Whenever he needs to open the blinds, right? Oh,
and they're like slowly like lurking out of the corner to get over, and
yeah,
it's so good.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Love the cops in this. Great stuff.
Yeah. If you want another good cop movie that the cops are smart and don't make themselves known, The Departed.
The Departed.
Shout out to The Departed.
That's a great movie.
Are you a cop?
You a co-op?
Yeah, man. Yeah, the movie, it's so good, dude. I tried to get Ashley to watch it with me because we were trying to find something to watch. I was like, or, you know, you can watch the movie that we're doing. And she was like, oh, what's it about? And I gave her the synopsis first.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, that does sound kind of interesting. I was like, yeah. In Japanese, though. And she was like, what?
What's the Japanese?
I was like, it's in Japanese. And she was like, no, I'm okay.
The next one's gonna hurt her head if she watches it with you.
Oh,
I'll explain why.
She won't. She won't. But so, Jeremy, are you ready to wrap up?
I am. This is, as of right now, I haven't seen all of his stuff, but this is my favorite Kurosawa movie as of right now.
For me, it's probably a tie with Ikuru.
Okay.
I love that one. That one was so good. Shout out to our Ikuru episode.
Interesting. You're picking both contemporary movies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I never thought anything would get over Seventh Samurai. But,
Yeah.
Bro.
I know.
And then, of course, hang on, everyone. With Ikuru, the British remake Living that just came out.
Yeah.
I want to see it so badly.
It with Bill Nye.
Mainly because I just want to see if it lives up to Kurosawa.
Yeah.
You know, which is hard.
I'll tell you.
But no, this one's definitely a close tie with Ikuru.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, I've got Yojimbo and Sanjuro.
Yeah, I've not seen those.
I know you've got Dreams, which I really,
Yes.
really want.
Yes, I do, and I haven't watched it yet. I did see The Bad Sleep Well, which I really liked. Also with our main man. Actually, it's with everybody because he doesn't like.
Use different actors.
He doesn't. Like, he uses the same people all the time.
Here's my oops, I forgot. We see a lot of the same people from the movies we've discussed this season.
So, Toshiro Mifune, obviously, he's our main guy. He's Gondo, and he's just incredible. You know, from our Rashomon episode, where he's the bandit, and then our Seven Samurai, where he's just this lunatic.
Yeah.
And then we have this character, which is just incredible. He's a different person.
Yeah, yeah, man.
And then of course Takashi Samura, who was in Akiru.
He's the main character.
And then he's in this movie for like a few minutes.
He's like a cop that
He's like maybe the chief or something.
who just sits there.
Yeah.
And occasionally he's like, oh.
Yeah, it's
and then
amazing.
And then we never see him again.
I know, it's so cool. I love how he uses the same people over and over.
Do you think Tarantino kind of took that from him?
Probably.
Reusing actors.
I think a lot of people take a lot of stuff from Kurosawa.
Oh, that's probably 100%.
I think I was reading in here that that, and I just took it away, so I don't remember his name. Here it is. Toshiro Mifune was in like 30 of his movies or something like that. Like, he was in almost all of them.
Well, until the one movie I remember reading it ruined their friendship, and It was one of their last movies that they did together because Kurosawa, apparently it was like sort of a passion project, and he was being very demanding and very much like, we got it, and he was like, when this is over, we're done.
Oh, that's
and he never did another.
Because he was in so many.
Yeah.
I mean, almost all of them.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, incredible performances, especially Toshiro. Right? Toshiro?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Incredible.
100%.
I mean, he's a different person. Also in The Bad Sleep Well, he's in that, and he's also different. I mean, it's crazy. Like, his acting is amazing.
His range. Yeah, really seeing his range now, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So Jeremy,
Yeah.
what is going to be your last pick of the season?
My last pick of the season.
I mean, it's not like I already
I
don't
know
know what it is.
These guys don't. It is a Swedish silent film from 1921. It is The Phantom Carriage. Charlie Chaplin once said it is the best movie ever made.
Well,
and Ingmar Bergman, this was his main influence in all of his filmmaking.
Really?
Yeah.
So when we did The Hour of the Wolf,
Yep.
this had a little bit of that.
We're talking everything he's ever done. He says that he watches it once a year.
Well, watched. Isn't he dead now?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
He watched it
He watched it.
Like he watched it once a year, and he loved it. And it's a story of, from what I read, it's the last person to die in a year has to ride in the carriage and pick up souls for the rest of the year.
It's see, yeah. That's, I think that's what it says on the Criterion website.
So it's New Year's Eve. The last person to die gets in the carriage, and then on we go.
And it's essentially that the title of death is passed on.
Yeah.
Essentially. Or reaper, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm interested.
So here's why it's gonna hurt Ashley's head if she sits next to you while you watch it. What Criterion does, I love Criterion. I want them to sponsor the show, but here's what they do.
Okay.
In silent films that are in a foreign language, they do not make English titles. They don't make dialogue cards in English. What they do is they still just have subtitles, which sometimes overlap with the text in the cards. So it's hard to read sometimes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because they'll overlap.
Oh, poop.
Yeah.
Well,
which is cool because you get the authentic experience of seeing the original dialogue cards. But having to read the subtitles underneath and sometimes the text overlap depending on how big the card is hard.
Well,
yeah.
Hopefully, maybe they work.
Kino does the same thing. Kino Lorber does the same thing because in My Dr. Mabuse, which is a Fritz Lang film, spoiler for next season, they do the same fucking thing, and I'm like, I mean, I get it, it's cool, like I get the authenticity, I like it, but
at the same time, you're like, I need to know what's happening.
Yeah, no, never mind, because I'm like, I think Metropolis did the same thing, but
no, theirs was restored
in English. Yeah, you're right.
Shout out to our Metropolis episode.
Yeah.
The first ever silent film we'd done on the show.
This is the second one.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Well, I'm excited, man.
I am too. I bought it years and years ago. And
I bought it specifically for this season, so I've been ready to get it open.
Yeah, me too. So,
all right, everyone. Well, we hope you enjoyed High and Low, and we will see you next week for The Phantom Carriage.